to this week's edition of Ambitious, Awakened, and Aligned. I have the beautiful, incredible, empowering, igniting Ali Rukavina with me today. And Ali is the founder and owner of Happy Hours. And I love how she was brought into my life. It was so serendipitous because I had no idea that what I really needed was more hours back in my day and my time and my life and my business and my world. And she was introduced to me for a very specific reason, which was to support me with my social media. And it became so much more. And we have formed this beautiful bond and connection. And one of the things that excites me so much about the conversations I have with Ali is I'm all about empowering women, especially our emerging leaders. And Ali, you're such a beautiful representation of everything I see shifting in the world and everything we need to keep shifting in the world. So I'm just excited that we get to have one of our organic conversations. Who knows where this is going to go? But the one place I know for sure it's going to go is to talk about what this actually means to give more time back to people. So welcome.
Hi.
Hi. And share with us where this came from for you, first of all.
First of all, thank you for
Concept.
such a beautiful intro. I would expect nothing less from you, Lori, but I must say my piece as well. I think of Lori as my fairy godmother. I was smiling when you said it became so much more because we really have such a deep and meaningful and intense connection and relationship that you can't really put a finger on. And I'm so grateful for it every day, even if time passes and we don't hear from each other. We always kind of, like, dive right in deep as soon as we see each other. I think the last time I saw you was at a bowling alley, and I was like,
Yes.
and we were getting into it already. I think there's so many times it's not lost on me that we've had conversations, and at the end, we're like, "Oh, we should have recorded that. That was really" we were both just being brilliant in that conversation.
It was
So
at
so
the
the
bowling alley that because no, we don't go like, "How are you?" It's
No.
boom, right into the deep, and, I think whatever conversation we had at the bowling alley, and I had a champagne glass in my hand, bowling and
Of
champagne,
course.
beautiful together, and, celebrating one of the clients that we partner with together, and, you had organized this beautiful celebration for them, which was amazing, and so, at the end of it, I remember saying, "Okay, this could have been a podcast."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we always have that feeling that, like, we walk away from a combo with each other with, like, a new nugget that we didn't have before, and whether it's, like, came from within us or from each other, it's really I think it's really neat, and it's really cool that we finally are going to have our conversation recorded. I'm like, "Okay, I better be smart today." Um, your question was, about what I do, right?
Well, and where the concept of happy hours came from, and obviously, I'm in my 50s. So for me to have this awareness of time is a construct and time is something we have not invested in properly through the generations I've grown up in. But for you at your stage in your life and career to have that profound wisdom is really powerful. So share with us where that came from and what you're doing for people right now because it's life-changing.
So I know that you know my journey, Lori, more than anyone, but I'll share with, the listeners how happy hour is kind of like I always say gave birth to itself. I was not intending on starting a company or being a business owner or forging off the beaten path, but I should have known that I was going to be doing that because I never worked great with a boss. So I worked in the corporate world for a lot of my 20s. I also did a lot of like restaurant and hosting and bartending work alongside of that. I was a fashion buyer. And due to the pandemic, alongside many others, our team dissolved. I lost my job. Um, and I was kind of left in this world of in between, as we all were in different ways, and I was really confused on what to do next because I found myself going out and interviewing for jobs in the same role that I had been in.
Mhm.
That's obviously the textbook way to go, like find something that you have a background in, but I wasn't feeling excited or motivated or moved by any of that, and nothing was really landing. Obviously, I had to make ends meet in the meantime. So I had like you kind of see it everywhere, but I saw something on like a meme or Instagram, like if you're good at something, monetize it, or if you love to do something, monetize it, because that way you will end up doing for a living what you love. And I remember sitting down and writing down this huge list of things that I liked doing, and none of them had anything to do with each other at that time. So, a big one was cooking. I always loved cooking for the people in my life. It's my love language. People have always been like, you should open a restaurant. You're so good. I have no formal training, but it's just something I loved. It was creative and it was um, emotive for me.
Mm.
And then I have diagnosed OCD, so I've always been it's kind of my superpower that I'm extremely organized. I love clean spaces. I love seeing a space and being able to rework it in my brain, how to make more sense of it, and create more space within that. And I just like loved days where I would like have an iced coffee in my car and I'd be driving around and running all these errands and checking things off a list. Like that just like always felt really good in my body. And the other thing was social media. Like I always loved playing on Instagram and TikTok and stuff. I've always just done it for myself. And these are all the things that I liked doing. So I started offering them up to the world. And I just got some freelance work with like meal prep stuff. I was doing some childcare at the time, some nanny gigs, and that really allowed me to be in the space and home of really busy people who have money to spend and aren't happy. So I really started learning a lot from these little gigs. I was running social media for small businesses. I was running errands for the nanny families. I was cooking for a bunch of different people. I had people coming and picking up meal prep from me. I was going into kitchens and it kind of just all like I was just trying to get by, but I was having a lot of fun.
Mm.
And over the course of, I guess, like a year, I realized that I was making probably more money than I was making at my corporate job. I was somehow working more, but I was more happy. So that was perplexing. And there was definitely a moment where I took a step back and thought, like, okay, what am I doing here? Like, can I do this? Like, for real?
Mhm.
And I started interviewing the people that I had one off interactions with or like little clients here and there and asking them what I brought so narcissistically. What do I bring to your life? Tell me, please. And only good things, the only right answer. So I started asking everyone around me, with this service, like when I do your social media, like how does that impact your life? And like, or when I cook for you, how does that impact your life? And it was a resounding one answer across the board. And that was in many different forms of it. People replied saying, you give me time
Mhm.
back in my days. And often I would hear you can't put a price on time. And due to that time, either they shared with me they were much happier, or I was able to witness such a shift from this overwhelmed, tight, spread thin aura and energy you get from people who are to this like expansive happy energy. And it could have been the smallest shift from like, okay, so I prepare dinner for this family once a week, and that the mother of that family gets to go to a yoga class for that hour she would have been cooking. And watching that domino effect in like a family setting or in a couple or in just a single person was starting to become very meaningful and moving for me. So there was this little shift at some point, and I can't put a finger on when it was because you never can looking back. I'm like, how did I do this? Where I started finding real meaning in my work and focusing more on this time and joy aspect.
Mhm.
And then it kind of became this thing where I'm like, well, what if I just run a business? Like, what if I incorporate myself and I become a business and I just pursue it a little harder, like make an Instagram account for it and a website. Like, what if? What would I call it? Because anytime people ask me what I do for a living, I would say like everything and nothing, and it makes no sense to you, and I don't know how to explain why I do what I do. And I remember I was having a couple cocktails with my best friend, and we were talking business names and plays on things that fit right with me. And that's when the idea of happy hours was born. We were at a happy hour, of course. I'm quite infamous for loving a strong cocktail and a happy hour. So it's very like it's a cheeky play on my personality. I do love a good party. And it's just this kind of nod to this archaic idea that you're supposed to work at least an 8-hour day and then go sit in a bar between 4 and 6 p.m. and you'll get a 50% off cocktail. And that's what a happy hour is
Mhm.
in our world. That's our definition of a happy hour. And something just seems so diabolical about that. I think that you should have many happy hours in your day. I'm realistic enough to know not every one of them is going to be. That's just called being an adult.
Mhm.
But I am motivated and encouraged to help people build more of those hours that feel really good to them into their weeks. So there's a healthier balance between the to
Yeah,
dos.
I think it's really interesting when you look at it without that being purposeful, and I think this is a really important point, is sometimes we go down a really intentional path that, we've been called to and we see it, and sometimes we go down, what's perceived in the moment, not an intentional path that has been laid out so clearly for us, and until we get to that pivotal moment of sitting with our best friend in the bar and having a happy hour moment, that it all becomes so clear. So I love that you share that's and what I know about you, Ali, is that trust in the universe as well, that it's going to present itself the way it's meant to, and not that you always love how that presents, because we
Nope.
don't. But you at least have that trust and faith that there's something calling you to something higher. So it's this thought process of why should we only have one happy hour, that when you first said that to me, happy hours because why should we have only one? It really was almost like a smack in the face, because that paradigm of, we live to work versus work to live, which seems like such a simple statement and yet has been running generations of families and leaders and people, and we're tired. I see it everywhere. The world is tired. Professionals are tired. Leaders are tired, and they're not giving themselves these tiny little things that can give them back their peace, joy, fulfillment, and happiness. And you're gifting that to people. And so, what do you notice about this gift of time? Like, what else do you notice? Walk us through what you really see unfolding as you step deeper into that calling for yourself.
I notice a lot of things. I would say I first of all, I couldn't agree more that we're all tired. Our leaders are tired. The people who are setting examples for us are tired. And it's just this awful trickle down effect where we have people graduate from school or whatever stage of their life that they are birthed out into this world to go work. And it's that um, live to work mindset.
Go
And I've
do
always
more. Go do more,
go do more.
make more, buy more, get more. Yeah.
Live later, and I've always
Mm.
brushed up against that with quite like a rebellious nature. I'm sure my parents
No.
could confirm, as I've always been like, I am not living to work. Even in this career that I've so beautifully built for myself, I work to live. Like I don't work my butt off to not book that plane ticket. And I always am like a little bit more spontaneous with my life because I really believe that. But things I notice not only within myself, because everything in this world is such a mirror. And you and I joke very often about how I sometimes forget that I need to build happy hours in because I get so caught up in making those all magical for everyone else. Um, I do notice at first, I would say 90% of my clients have a very initial resistance
Mm.
to the space that I'm creating in their life.
It doesn't feel safe
And
for their nervous systems to have
it doesn't.
time to invest in joy.
Well, people don't know what to do with themselves.
No.
So, another thing that I find really important, and now I have a little team working with me and under me, and something that I make very clear to them, especially the ones who go into homes and cook and do that sort of thing, is what happy hours offers on top of just the service itself is the conversation surrounding it. So often when I start with a client, we will sit down and we'll talk about their lives. We'll talk about what's going on with them. I'm no therapist, but I am a very approachable listening ear. As you know, everyone tells me everything. And once I get a good idea of that, I can help gently encourage and hold their hand through our partnership as it unfolds. So I'll notice that resistance come up as, say, okay, for example, a meal prep client. I'm coming in as a private chef into your home to prep all the food for your week. The first like 3 sessions I come in, the client will be like in the kitchen with me trying to help. They'll start writing themselves a to-do list of things they should be doing now that they're not doing this. They will kind of run circles around me. They'll feel really uncomfortable receiving the help. They are sometimes forget they're paying me and apologize a lot for like the mess or the state of their fridge. And it's my job and it's fine. What I get to witness, which is the magic of my job, is over the course of weeks, if we stay consistent with the partnership, this like kind of these layers kind of fall off, and you'll notice that client going to a workout class or going for a walk while I'm there, or cuddling in bed with their 2-year-old, or taking a bath, or taking a nap, or whatever it may be. Like some people's happy hour is sitting at a desk and getting organized, and maybe that's what they're doing, but just this like allowing of themselves to
I was just
embrace
gonna say it's
the
the
space.
permission piece,
It's permission.
right? Because as you're saying that, I'm bubbling up this feeling of guilt, which so many professional women carry around with them.
Yeah.
And, I was giggling inside because I was thinking of with the when I had the kids were little and I was a corporate leader and I knew something had to give, so I finally hired a housekeeper. I would literally clean the house before the housekeeper came. And I was like, "What am I doing?" And of course,
It's
Jared
so
is like,
common,
"What are
Laurie.
you doing?" I'm like, "Well, I just want it to be organized." Oh my goodness, and it took me a
We
while.
always, yeah, we feel like we have to present all the time, and I'm so guilty of it. Like my entire career is a projection for sure, and I'm so aware of that. And I am in therapy, so don't worry. But I think it's hilarious when I go into someone's home and they'll say like, "Oh, like all the groceries on the counter, nothing's organized for you. I'm not ready for you to come today. Don't come today."
Mm,
What do you think I'm coming to do? I'm gonna put all the food away and I'm gonna cook it. Just leave it. I wanna meet you as you are,
mhm.
because that's the beauty and the gift. And with other areas of my work, like the social media is about 50% of my business. I noticed that people are getting more invested in their business, and their businesses are growing, not just because the social media is impactful, but because they're not someone who doesn't know how to make a reel, spending 5 hours staring at their phone, going cross eyed, trying to figure out Instagram is not productive when that person is like a healer, a massage therapist, or whatever they may be. And they could be spending those 5 hours further educating themselves, building their business, seeing clients, like, that's time back that's actually money for them as
Well, in
well.
their genius zone. So,
Yeah.
before I was introduced to you, I had a team member that was doing my social media, and she, got herself a full-time job, and I was so happy for her in a marketing firm. And so I'm like, "Oh, it's fine. I'll just take that back over myself." And it was not fine because what I think you can do and she could do in 10 minutes was taking me an hour. And then, of course, my perfectionism side was kicking in because I didn't have a comfort in it and I was spending less time in my genius zone. And so then Ali came along and just, like, refreshed that for me, and I think that is such a key of what you're doing for people is they get to be in their genius zone, and for every entrepreneur and leader listening, that's your gift to the world. That you being in your genius zone is your gift. So Ali has another genius zone that you get to come in with your team and support people in so they can be in theirs. It's
It's
so simple, but it's
it's not.
changing and business changing to your point. Because if a business owner is in their genius zone or a leader, then absolutely financially the revenue flows. It
Well,
grows.
it's the word you use more than anything is alignment,
Yeah.
and you've taught me so much about that, and it's just helping people. You can't get into alignment if you don't have space and time to check in what's out of whack,
Mhm.
and you really the pieces all have to fall into the right place in your body, in your health, in your mind, in your soul, in your work, in your creativity, your motivation to get into that flow.
Mhm.
And if you are just running to the next thing every day, you are never going to be in that flow. And like I said, it's the biggest mirror I'm holding up to myself constantly. And I constantly have to be checked. And I'm a work in progress that I do this for other people. And then I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off. And it's so wonderful to have the privilege of working and witnessing those moments because I go, oh, wait, I haven't had one of those in a while, which kind of led me to the next. I ran the business on my own for I think a full year and a half before I started hiring on. And you, of all people, know how challenging that was for me to
Mhm.
surrender a bit of control.
Mhm.
Uh, but now I have people who help me, like little alleys,
Mhm.
get into my genius zone. So when I offload that stuff that I know I can do, but it's going to take a long time, I have more space to expand and grow, and the business just keeps growing
Mhm.
the more that I trust in that. So
I
it
think you've
reflects for
come to
me.
understand too is even though you had that intuition that giving people back their happy hours was starting to create better lives and better businesses for them, for you still that attachment of it's the doing versus the being. So as you were exploring or explaining about how you sit down and have a conversation about what they're looking for beyond, oh, I want my meals or I want my social media or I need support with my children, you're peeling back the layer to no, no, no. What are you really seeking? What are you really seeking for your life and for your business? And yet, still for you attaching, you were giving that to them through the doing. It was
Yeah.
really
And
actually you and your beingness and you recognizing that you were changing people's lives and businesses, and the moment you stepped into that and hired your own team, again, growth, right? It's massive.
it's massive and and it's not done. Like I
Never. It's never
run
done, Allie.
it's never it's I know it's never Lori, I know. I know. I have run up against that, like, burnout wall, and I'm sure, like, any of my friends or family who listens to this episode is like, "Yeah, Allie, we know. Hi, I see you guys." Um, and crashed out enough times because I just was burning the candle on both ends of the biggest understatement, but you almost there was also this little, like, hitch in it for me where you get addicted to that high of helping people and being someone's like savior. Like a lot of the women that I help are really overwhelmed mothers or professionals, and I obviously as a woman can relate and see myself in that. And there would be such emotional breakthrough moments of thank you, like I don't know what I would do without you, and you just want to give and do more. My learning has been that I'm not a bottomless well of things to give, and there will be nothing left for me if I do go that way. And, we've joked a lot about how I would need to like book a trip to literally stop and then I would work the whole trip.
Mhm.
And I didn't stop and I came back even more tired and more to catch up on. And I think, this year is really about finding that balance for me and carving out unapologetic time, like
Mhm.
heavy on the unapologetic, like for example, last night, I like let people know I'm not going to be speaking to anyone after this time. I need to be in bed and I need to not text anyone or talk to anyone. And it's not that I was like so upset or hitting burnout, but it was like, let me get ahead of this.
Mhm.
So, and not feel so guilty about it. So, I'm also learning as I'm witnessing those moments in others.
Which is what makes what you do so much more powerful, because you're living the truth of it for yourself and still rubbing up against it. So when you see one of your customers who's you can sense when they're reaching burnout, you can sense when that guilt story is popping up for them. You can see it because you feel it and you experience it. And I think for the most part, people find their zone of genius in a place where they have had to heal something.
Yes. It is. It's usually your zone of genius is usually in the place you don't want to go.
Mm.
You kind of have to go there. And I think that as you're talking, what's coming up for me is, we talk a lot about being women in business, and we both know the challenges that present. And I think that you kind of feel like in this world you have to be so hard and you have to be so strong to prove your point, especially being a young woman in business. And I have this always nagging what if, like, what if you did it different? And what if you could be a strong, powerful woman in business, but still have such softness? And that's what makes you powerful. So, holding that space, like you said, when I can witness somebody reaching burnout or they're not really surrendering the work to me, like they're still in it with me, um, I'm able to have those powerful conversations with them and say, "Is this the right service for you?" Because if you're still doing it, I don't want this partnership because it's not what this is about.
Yeah, you can only work with the willing. This is my statement of 2025 for any
Mm.
of us and anyone listening. Whatever it is that you do, you can only work with the willing in that space. So,
Work with the willing. I love that.
yeah, it's and sometimes people perceive that they are willing.
Oh yeah.
I mean, often, I joke about this. I've never spoken this out loud, so here, it's out to the universe. So if you were to ask your entire client base, and if I were to ask everyone I've ever worked with, put up your hand if you feel that you are open to growth and development, that you wanna actually grow as a person. How many hands are gonna go up? Everyone.
I think I think the hands are gonna go up, but they don't not everyone means it.
Every single hand is going to go up, and they actually perceive that they mean it. They think they're open to growth.
Yeah.
Every human being believes deeply that they are open to growth. But if we study the truth of it, it's 97% not open to growth. So 3% of the North American population actually do the work of growth, of really getting deep into how do I transform? How do I grow? How do I become the next version of myself? How do I come home to myself? All the juicy stuff we talk about on this podcast and that you and I get into, Ali. And so, like, there's such a huge disconnect. And it's that 3% that are the willing. It's that 3% that will say, eventually, not initially, maybe, but Ali, please take it. Take it. Bring this peace and joy and fulfillment I'm seeking. I trust you. I'm all in. And that for you, that allows you to create that same mirror back. And that's where we
Mhm.
get to amplify the energy of anything that we're working on. So, coming into this year, it was massive for me of like, only work with the willing, only work with the willing. And so I just plant that as a seed for you and for everybody because, like, back to this time construct, if we spend time working with the not willing, which
It's a
takes
waste.
your energy and your passion and, lowers the tank, all of it, you can just see how that perpetuates too, right?
Well, working with the unwilling is equivalent to screaming into a void. And I think that as for people who don't know, Lori is my business mentor and dear friend. So she has mentored me on um ending certain partnerships. I never really know how to word it. It's not like I'm firing a client, but I've had to, at the beginning you say yes to everything because you have to get your business off the ground.
Mm.
And I'm fortunate enough to be in a space now where I can be a bit pickier. And when I reflect on anyone that the partnership's been terminated with, they were just it can all be summarized as they were unwilling.
Mhm.
So that's a really nice way to reframe it in my mind. And I've never regretted anything I've terminated because it was just an energy suck.
Yeah.
But then on the contrary, I would argue that those 3% who are truly have their hands up and they are open to growth, I would argue that you could sniff them out in any room.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that's how we found each other.
Absolutely. I agree. And that's still tons of people. And I think it's so important too that we don't judge or view the other
Right.
bad. It's there is so much business for you out there. There are so many people hungry for transformation, for peace, for joy, for the happy hours back in their life. So, when we can just release back to the universe people to go and find where they're meant to be, or it's not their time, or they have their own healing to get to a place where they can let the guilt go and let you in. It's we're all on a journey, and when we're meant to find each other, we find each other. It's when us as business owners, and I'm saying us because been here, done that many times. You're trying to grow your business, so you say yes to things that even in the moment might feel like alignment. And sometimes things can be alignment and then they grow out of alignment because you grow in a different direction or you see something new in a new way, and that's beautiful too. Then you follow that and then you release people at those times. I've worked with amazing customers that it just was time for both of us to go in a different direction at a certain time.
Oh, absolutely. To be clear, it's not a negative thing. It's just
Mm,
they weren't ready.
mhm.
And, you know, each each party got what they needed from the partnership at the time and
Yes.
you outgrow it. It's
Mhm.
it's no longer serving in a positive way.
Mm.
And you've helped me so much be more aware and conscious of when it's time to call it.
Mhm. Yep, back to alignment, right?
Mm.
Everything needs to feel deeply aligned as you continue to grow and expand. You, the business owner, and you, the business. I was thinking, I had this like aha last week that like businesses are like a nervous system.
Mhm.
Not just the business owner, the business itself is like a nervous system. So I think I'm gonna have to write a book on that. I'm exploring that. I'm
For
just throwing
sure.
it out there right now. I'm like, the business itself also has a nervous system and has to feel safe and has to know when it's ready to grow and wants to grow. And sometimes I think the business and us, the business owners, are like in conflict too.
I could ghostwrite on that for you with some of the clients we've shared. So
Yes, yes, absolutely. Oh my goodness, so amazing. You said something that's really profound for you is the power of community. Tell us more about that. What does community mean to you and why is it important to you?
So this is a whole other aspect of why what I do is so meaningful and important to me. Um I'm a bit of like a documentary nerd. I love learning about how things were when humans were just starting to be humans on this planet. I'm always very fascinated about where we come from. And I feel as though we have drifted so far away from community. Like, the saying "it takes a village to raise a baby" didn't come out of thin air because it used to take a village to raise a baby. Everybody would work together. Even in the systems of like money, like everything was bartered and traded. Everyone had a gift or something to offer. And that's what made, they were all cogs in this machine that made a community or a town or a village work. And we don't have that anymore. We've gone so far into ourselves, and we're so obsessed with identity because of social media, because of the availability of everything in this world. We can pick and choose what's us. Like, I wear this and I eat this and this is my kind of workout and this is my identity. I think we're also hyper focused on being individuals that we've lost the plot on supporting each other.
Mhm.
And through the work that I do, I have this really exciting opportunity to enter people's businesses and homes and be someone who's not there all the time, but is there at a regular time to witness and be a part of that many different little machines. So I am in a way privileged to be a part of so many different communities,
Mhm.
and the wealth of joy and support and love and resources that has brought to my personal life is insane. So, like, for example, I could have a client that I do social media for. I see them once a month to do the shoot. And, some of the girls that work for that business have become some of my best friends that I now see for cocktails on a Friday night. Or, yesterday was a cooking day for me, one of my original clients that I've been with forever. We literally sit and pull tarot cards after every time I finish my shift and talk about where we're at in our lives and what we're feeling that week and how the moon is making us crazy and if we should go get in a bath full of Epsom salts and cry. And it's not very common in the corporate world that that would be happening,
Right.
but that's what should be happening. So when you get to create a business that never existed before, it gets to transpire and take shape in a way that we've never seen before. So, who's making the rules? I'm the boss. No one can tell me that I shouldn't be staying and pulling a tarot card with my client or having a cocktail with my other client. So, I end up getting these amazing connections that I feel I come home with this mega full heart. Even if it was a bad day, there's still nuggets and great things in there. Versus when I used to work corporate, I would walk in every day at 9 a.m., sit in my cubicle, which is literally a physical representation of be an individual, don't talk to the person next to you, and sit under,
Stay your box.
stay in your box and don't grow and don't talk and don't reach and don't receive, and then go home. And I would just have such an empty cup every day. So if that answers your question, I guess I kind of went on a tangent.
So beautiful. It just what kept popping for me is gather in growth. Just that beautiful harmony of people coming together, not even with the same intentions originally, but what can grow from that. And I was laughing as you were talking because I was thinking I used to have this. Maybe it's imposter syndrome, but I actually am coming to realize that's not even a real thing. But imposter syndrome about I'd have a CEO hire me, and so I'm supposed to show up with like all these really deep, meaningful strategies, right? And I've come to learn, especially over the last few years, as I work more with high level CEOs, leaders, is that they want to talk about whether they need an Epsom salts bath or what the moon is doing. And probably where I'm seeing it is back to the mirroring is I'm just so okay to now to fully show up as who I am, and I'm all about the moons and what's going on, energetically and esoterically. And so, you open that slightly little crack, and all of a sudden you realize, guess what? So does everybody. And they're seeking answers in new ways. And actually, business is simple, people are complicated. So it's more about the who am I as a person and help me connect more deeply to that because running the business part is actually not really that complicated.
It's just numbers, it's spreadsheets, it's math. But when you open like that crack a little bit and you have that conversation with the client that just runs a bit deeper, you find out what's going on at home or something deeper, the business gets better
Yeah,
because
the humanity.
there's
The humanity,
trust
for
and
sure.
there's connection. So the work moves from this space of I see you, but I don't fully know you to
Mhm.
alignment. I know your story now. I can help you in a different way.
I love that. I see you. Like, that's so huge. I see you, I hear you, I know you. Now we have this trust and we can go anywhere. Okay. So, you'll be back, and I'm gonna ask you I'm gonna reel it back in because, Ali and I can really get off on some tangents.
Good night.
I would like to end with, what does ambitious, awakened, and aligned mean to you?
Mm, ambitious, all 3 together.
Mhm.
It is the person I strive to be every day, and I don't always hit the mark, but it's the archetype of when I'm in the flow, I'm ambitious, I'm awakened, and I'm aligned.
Mm. Beautifully said. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here for a beautiful conversation. There's so many tidbits here for all of our listeners, and I'm so grateful for you, and I'm so grateful that you invested some time with us. Just keep shining and building more happy hours for people.
Thank you, Lori. I adore you. This was so fun. We could talk forever. Anytime.